What's going on, guys? It's Elijah Mackley now, and today we have a really big announcement to make. Some of you guys are probably wondering, why are you putting an LS in car? Why do you need to upgrade the power? Well, for 2025, we'll be driving Hot Pit Autofest. Hot Pit Autofest is a Pro-Am drifting series out here in Southern California. There are multiple professional drivers in there from Formula Drift and some of the best drivers out here in SoCal. And we're gonna be competing in Hot Pit Autofest with my E36 M3. To give you guys a better idea of what I'm building, let's get it up on the lift and show you what's going on under the hood. Technically there's no hood right now, but let's get on the lift. So like I said before, this is a 5.3 power slide package from Flag Motorsports. They basically create like an LS3, a GM LS3 crate competitor to kind of make the same performance. And alongside with that, if you want to come take a closer look, we have CX Racing headers with Pencil Tucky Performance mounts. They're made by Alex Volkman. He sent these out to me, and so he's one of my partners for this year. So shout out to Alex and Pencil Tucky Performance for sending me out these mounts. They fit well with the CX Racing headers, and generally just no complaints about them whatsoever. They fit in there perfectly. Really cool feature about them is they're actually adjustable. If you come take a look right here, you can kind of slide the engine forward or back to wherever you want it to be at. So that's a really cool feature about their V3 engine mounts. And then with the V3 package is we need to run a Holley 301 2-pan. So this pan gives you a lot more clearance. So come take a look, Max. Get in here. It's kind of high up, so it's at the same level of the subframe. And then we are running a stock BMW transmission. So it's a ZF that came from my M3. And we're running that with a PMC adapter plate. To make it fit with the PMC adapter plate, the CX Racing headers and the mount, we did have to shave off the PMC adapter plate a little bit on the driver's side. And bash in a little bit of the CX Racing headers, but there's like, you know, there's like a tiny hair amount of space in there left. So I think that should be good enough before we start cutting too much and bashing it in too much. And the transmission out. This is also from Pencil Tucky Performance. This allows you to run the stock transmission with their engine mounts. And one thing was, since it's adjustable, you can kind of play with where you want to land the engine and the transmission. You can kind of push it forward so that you can try to keep the stock geometry or like the stock length of the drive shaft and the shifter and all that. But with the way that, if you want to take a look right here, this engine pretty much sits right on the shock tower. And if I did want to push it out more, I'm going to be losing front rad space. And also, you know, the center of gravity is just not going to be as ideal, just like the weight distribution in general. So I'm gonna sacrifice in not running the stock drive shaft and the stock shifter selector rod. So what we are gonna do is we're gonna put this where it is right now. And we're just gonna shorten the drive shaft because if you look, it's kind of maxed out and it's hitting the diff. So we're gonna have to shorten the drive shaft a little bit, maybe like 2-3 inches or so. But we're doing that for the sake of being able to push the engine back as much as possible. So stock drive shaft, but we're gonna get it shortened by one of the local drive shaft shops down here. Of course, shout out to another one of my partners who helped me out getting some parts is Wisefab. I'm gonna be running their front suspension, so their front angle kit. I've had this over for like 2 years now. Never given me an issue, nothing. I check the bolts, I make sure it's tight. This kit is the best kit you can buy for E36, hands down. Don't play. And Wisefab also hooked me up with their rear suspension kit. We didn't get the trailing arm and the full grip kit just because I don't really need it at this horsepower level, and the car is kind of a basic car, you know. It's a front rad car with a stock transmission and a stock diff. So really, I didn't think it was necessary to go get the full trailing arm, at least not yet. So shout out to another one of my partners, Garagistic. we're running geargistic chassis parts. So for instance, come here, Max. We're running the geargistic subframe bushings, diff bushings, all the small chassis parts. Usually where geargistic is helping us out. We'll be showing a couple of products from geargistic on this car. Fuel suspension coilovers. These are also, I've had this since last year. These are Field 441s with the spring, the Swiss springs. So nothing too crazy. I don't have two ways, but this should do me well for the hot pit season, at least for my first year. And you know, we can always upgrade from there. Keep in mind is we are gonna keep the stock tank, and we're just gonna modify the fuel hanger so that we can run a 6AN PTFE that goes down across the car. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it underneath. Yeah, that's pretty much it underneath. We'll be running geargistic transmission mounts. It's just this one had rubber mounts, and we mocked up this engine and transmission setup on here for now, just to kind of make an announcement and everything. But we did just mock it up for now, so we'll see. We'll be replacing this stock rubber mounts with some geargistic poly mounts that match the rear end. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. So like I said, at least for the engine, thank you to Pennsylvania Performance, Alex Volkman. They sent me out these mounts, so I can't express my gratitude for him for believing in my program and supporting me. Shout out to also Geargistic. They're giving me all the chassis parts for this thing, and Flag Motorsports for building me a badass engine. I'm super stoked to just hear this thing running on my car. Let's bring it back down and kind of show you what we're going on in the interior. So this is the current state of the interior. If you guys didn't know, this also had a cage before, and I cut it all out, and what I had to do was I had to cut the floor to cut out the cage basically. So I patched the floor, mounted my delete plates. So this one, the rear firewall, and then the front heater core and the DME plate are also there. That's one's from Geargistic, so shout out to Geargistic again. Hooking me up with some parts, and if you do need a heater core delete for your car, they make one. Same thing with the DME plate right here. You guys can buy that off their website. Really, if you're building a race car E36 and you're stripping it out, you have to have these things. So if you need them, go look at their website. Another cool mod that I did that I didn't really get to show on camera, but I do have some documentation of it, was the steering column mod. I wanted to bring it down. Usually with these steering columns, it's always 100% too high. The steering column is always just too lifted up, and you find yourself driving like this, which is what I got used to be honest. So what we did was I spaced down the column by adding these 25mm spacers that I got, and then installing longer bolts. So this is a 45mm bolt with a 25mm spacer, and I think that should give me the angle that I want for the steering column. And another thing that I did on this was I actually took out the steering lock. If you notice, there's no steering lock here where you can like turn the ignition or the key. I cut that all out, and usually there's a bunch of play on the steering column, but instead, if Max wants to keep, I don't think Max will actually be able to show this, but there's a bearing inside this tube, and since the lock is no longer there, I added this spacer with this oil-infused washer, and basically that deletes the lock and it allows me to use the stock steering column. And with the bearing in there, it pretty much eliminates all the play. So I'm really stoked about this mod. I do have the battery mounted, and I'm already routing all my ground cables are already routed. My power cable to my kill switch, my solid state kill switch is already mounted. I already have a bunch of like wires kind of set up. So when I do get all the parts in here, which should be very, very soon, I think literally tomorrow, I should be able to put it all in. I'm just gonna check if there's enough space here. Oh, there's enough space. We're good. There's enough space on the transmission tunnel. No need for modification on the transmission tunnel. I am so stoked. The solid state kill switch, that's really badass if you guys don't know. With that thing, instead of running heavy gauge wire throughout the car to have a kill switch, it uses a solid state drive that uses a ground instead to kind of kill the switch. And yeah, it's just a more efficient way of setting up your battery kill switch. Fuel tank. So like I said, we're keeping the stock fuel tank set up. So we'll just be modifying these stock fuel hangers and then adapting them with the AN line. One thing we're also waiting on is the cage kits for this car. It's the Drift HU cage, and yeah. And this is also some of the other parts we got from Garagistic, one of our other sponsors. Like I said before, they supplied us with some seat mounts to go with the beautiful Energy seats. So if you need seat mounts or anything like that for your BMW, please check out Garagistic. Check out Energy if you need any seats. So yeah, if you guys are interested in following along in the journey of me building my E36 into the pro car that it is, please stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys later.